I feel like I am falling out of love with my wife of 6 years. We met back in 2018 and dated for around 7 months. I left overseas for a while, but I had fallen madly in love with her. I proposed to her overseas, and we got married the following year when I returned. We were definitely still in the honeymoon phase around that time as well. A major note for us, however, is that we are polyamorous, which is something we had agreed upon while I was gone, so she wouldn't feel lonely, but did not establish proper boundaries. She was only interested in other women, but she did not mind if I saw other women as well. We dated a girl together for roughly a year before we started seeing partners separately. She met her girlfriend around 2021 and got caught up in what I thought was new relationship energy. Little things started changing. She stopped wearing her wedding ring, was texting her a large portion of the time, was less interested in intimacy, changed her social media pictures from us to just her, etc. A lot of things I would look past in a one-off instance, but combined, there were some serious red flags. I tried talking to her about it several times, but she reassured me there weren't any issues and that I was a priority. Despite her saying this, I did not feel like I was, and pushed down a lot of those emotions as just me being insecure or worrying too much. My love and feelings didn't change very much towards my wife, but slowly she began feeling a little distant, and I just chalked these things up as a part of our relationship. Even with partners and friends who asked about these things, I just laughed it off and said, "We're good," despite the fact it wasn't. I just didn't want to come to terms with it. They would ask why my wife was so carefree about me seeing other girls. It went from, "Oh, she doesn't care," to, "Oh, she doesn't care." This went on for several years. Recently, I had to go overseas for a year once more, leaving her home to spend time with her same girlfriend, who at some point she had broken up with and gotten back together with. While overseas, I reconnected with an old girlfriend. When I returned home, I slowly began becoming very emotionally invested in this woman, using that emotional energy to replace what I felt I was lacking with my wife. Eventually, though, due to her being newly single out of a long relationship and not being up for polyamory, we decided to separate, and understandably so. I was, and somewhat still am, feeling the result of the breakup, and it hurts. She told me several times how much it messed her up seeing me with my wife, how weird it felt being able to see and sleep with me, etc. In time, it finally gave in. I tried to connect the dots as to why the breakup hurts, and realized some of it was what I was craving for with my spouse, since she had now invested many years into this other girl and was staying there 2 to 3 times a week, and obviously in love with her. I sat down with her and had an honest conversation about our marriage and her other partner. Previously, I was resentful and envious of her girlfriend. Now, I just look at her as an equal, despite me supposedly being the primary. Additionally, my wife had not experienced jealousy with any of my other partners until I had gotten back with my old girlfriend, and I explained that I just thought that was a part of what we were doing since I had experienced my own jealousy for so long. I told her I am not asking her to break up with her girlfriend right now, but to consider how I am feeling about the whole situation. It didn't help that she ended up staying with her girlfriend the same night my partner and I had split. And I told her I was feeling pretty emotionally devastated between that and where our marriage was. We decided to invest in each other more and make active attempts to be present for each other and focus on our marriage. She is reluctant for all 3 of us to sit down and discuss things as well, stating that she will probably be breaking up with her girlfriend sometime soon. They have done this once before and gotten back together, so I am somewhat skeptical of that happening. She said she doesn't want to do it now because she has to take time to emotionally detach. But therein lies the problem now. I feel I have been in this situation, pushing it down for so long, that when I finally get to experience that intimacy and attention from another partner who initially only wanted me, I craved it again. But when I look to my wife, despite looking at the same woman I fell in love with, I am just not feeling the same feelings in light of everything. I love her, and I chose to be with her, and she is obviously making attempts again, wearing her ring, being present, etc. but feeling like she hasn't been fully committed to me for so long and is dividing her time, love, and emotional energy has left me feeling empty. There is a part of me that wants to be done with it, to separate and run away somewhere new, to heal and find a partner. I can truly experience those feelings of devotion and trust again, but I am also reluctant to let go because of the marriage we have built. I also am trying to determine how much of this is just me reacting to a breakup. I would attribute some to that, but the fact that this has been going on for so long makes me determine it's more, what in the world do I do? I realize this was our fault for not putting up boundaries on our poly lifestyle, but hindsight is 20/20, and when you're younger, naive, and in love, sometimes you just don't read between the lines. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. We were not polyamorous when we met. I didn't have an issue with her seeing other women, but I didn't take into account the serious repercussions of opening up our marriage without doing the work and deeply communicating. We didn't stop when I got back because we were still in that honeymoon phase, and I didn't feel like anything would threaten our relationship. Yes, I have definitely outgrown polyamory generally speaking, but I have also been in it so long now, it's in some ways odd to envision not seeing other people. Still, I would prefer to be monogamous. I'm not sure if I am. I love her tremendously, but those deep feelings of what we had feel distant. I understand marriage takes work, but it feels like any time I felt alone in my relationship with her, she was reassuring me from afar for several years now. I feel very alone in my marriage. Thank you. Trust me, I will and have been. Comment 2. You are experiencing a mix of burnout, unmet needs, and lingering hurt. Consider seeking couples therapy to address the unresolved issues in your marriage and explore whether you can rebuild trust and intimacy. Reflect on whether you can truly heal within this relationship, or if separation might be a healthier path. Now, for the update. 2 days after the serious talk, I was at home just doing my thing when I overheard my wife on a video call with her girlfriend. The whole vibe was so chill, filled with laughter and inside jokes, it made me feel like a stranger in my own house again. I mean, here I am, trying to save whatever's left of our marriage, and she's just giddy over the phone with someone else. So, I decided to go for a walk to clear my head, the typical guy thing. Ended up at a local coffee shop, which is kind of my default escape route these days. I'm sitting there trying to drown my sorrows in a double espresso when I run into an old friend from college. We always had a good time back in the day, so it was nice to see him, but man, he had to go and ask about my marriage. Like, dude, can't we just talk about the time we almost got arrested for skinny dipping? So I mentioned my wife's distance and our polyamorous arrangement, expecting him to roll his eyes and join me in self-pity. But nope, he was all concerned about the emotional toll this whole situation might take on me. I brushed off his comment, saying I'd be fine, and headed home. Guess what? My wife was still on the call with her girlfriend. At this point, I was just so done. I didn't even ask who was on the other line. That night, we both went to a friend's birthday party together, but it felt more like I was her +1 than her husband. I noticed her texting under the table while we were having dinner. I tried to talk to her, but she just gave me short answers, distracted and completely uninterested. During a toast, I raised my glass and made a light joke about how we need to reconnect. Her laugh was so fake, it could have been a sound effect from a bad sitcom, and she quickly returned to her phone. After the party, we headed home, and I thought maybe we could talk things through. But no, she was still in her not having it mood. I brought up my feelings of neglect again, and she responded with irritation, claiming I was being overly dramatic. At this point, I could feel the tension rising, and I just wanted to avoid another argument, so I decided to go to bed early. The next morning, I woke up to find her packing a bag for a weekend getaway with her girlfriend. I asked her where they were going, and she mentioned some cabin in the woods. I could feel the confrontation brewing, but I just avoided it and let her leave. So there I was that weekend, spending time at home alone, trying to distract myself with hobbies, which was a whole new level of sad. I even went to a nearby farmer's market, hoping to see someone I knew. Instead, I ran into this couple who are close friends with my wife and her girlfriend. They casually mentioned how much fun they had with my wife and her girlfriend at the cabin. I mean, come on. I know you're trying to be friendly and all, but I really didn't need that reminder. Later, I got a text from my wife, sharing pictures of their weekend. Guess who was in every single one? Yeah, you got it. Her girlfriend. At this point, I was just so fed up with everything. I decided to reach out to my old flame to see how she's doing. It was probably a bad idea, but I was just looking for someone to talk to that wouldn't make me feel like garbage. We ended up meeting for coffee, where she talked about her life and relationships, which was nice, but also slightly torturous because I knew she wasn't into polyamory. After the coffee, I went home, and guess what? My wife was still not back. I got a text from her asking if I could pick her up from a location different from the cabin. Now I was really curious. So, I drove to the location and saw my wife laughing with her girlfriend outside a restaurant. There they were, looking all cute and domestic. I mean, what was I supposed to do? Blow the horn and yell at them? So, we finally returned home, and the vibe was just so thick with unspoken words, you could cut it with a knife. I tried to talk about our weekend plans, but she brushed me off, insisting she was tired. The next day, I found a letter from my wife on the kitchen table. The letter outlined her feelings about our relationship and her desire to continue seeing her girlfriend. She said it was her decision and that I needed to respect it. I mean, was this a decision we were supposed to make together? Because I sure didn't know we were in a decision-making phase for her to continue seeing her girlfriend. I texted her, saying that I don't think I can do this anymore. She responded with anger, claiming I was being selfish and dismissive of her happiness. So, I packed a few belongings and left the house, determined to find clarity outside of this relationship. I moved in with a friend temporarily. Honestly, it felt like the first time I could breathe in months. I mean, sure, I'm uncertain about the future, but for now, at least I have a roof over my head that doesn't feel like a prison. To answer a few questions, my wife and I had previously set boundaries around her relationship with her girlfriend, but those boundaries were not respected. I had also previously met with my old flame before the marriage issues arose, and we had a casual relationship at the time. The couple I met at the farmer's market wasn't aware of the letter my wife had left at home. Now that I've moved in with a friend, I'm focusing on my own well-being and considering my next steps. Am I the idiot for cutting off my toxic friend after she hijacked my family dinner and called me a traitor? This is being really difficult and tough for me to handle because I love her and have loved her for like 10 years now, and I want our friendship to be something that lasts a lifetime. But in the last few months, I've found myself just being hurt over and over again and feeling like I have to walk on eggshells constantly, and I'm getting very tired. She didn't used to be like this, but I think it was caused by the fact that over the last year, a lot of really bad stuff happened that badly impacted her mental health. And ever since, she has become a more bitter, negative, aggressive, and unpleasant person to be around. I tried my hardest to be there for her during that period. I literally gave her the keys to my house so she could escape her toxic home situation whenever she needed to, was a shoulder to cry on, and someone to talk to. I understand how this all impacts someone, but I don't think it's fair for me to have to bear the brunt of it. I've just been feeling like I'm walking on eggshells constantly, several times for the past few months. She starts ridiculous arguments over the most trivial, insignificant matters and refuses to back down or even take into consideration the position she's putting the other person in, despite knowing full well that she has several friends who struggle badly with confrontations or something that feels like one. Irritability is a part of her depression symptoms, and she expects us time and time again to accommodate that and have consideration for it, but rarely seems to give a second thought to others and their struggles. She has several friends who have really bad anxiety, me included, and really struggles with dynamics and situations that are confrontational or feel so. I think that grievances and issues should be discussed and worked on for friendships to flourish. And I make an effort to do so, despite how hard it is for me, to the point I have to take strong sedatives to do it. But I also think that it's crucial for her to also be willing to be considerate of the other person and try to meet them halfway. And I just never see it happening. This recently blew up with a London trip we went on, plus another mutual friend who is 25 years old. We went there to attend the Eras Tour, but since she isn't a Taylor Swift fan, we made it into a several-day trip to enjoy ourselves. She insisted that our mutual friend made the schedule since she had lived in London for a few years in the past and sent her a bunch of stuff she really wanted to see. She did, and sent us over our group chat, asked us to check it out, see if we were cool with everything, and then report back, especially if not. She included everything she had said she wanted to see, several London must-sees for first trips since it was her first, and a visit to the Victoria and Albert Museum, and a lunch at the Black Dog for the day of the concert. Those last two had Taylor Swift connections that we wanted to check out. At the time, she expressed nothing but excitement over what was on the schedule, so we all decided that was the schedule to follow. On like the second day we were there, we were on our way to the Victoria and Albert Museum. And we learned she hadn't actually checked the schedule that was sent to our group chat and started throwing a fit over going to the Victoria and Albert Museum after learning we wanted to check out the Taylor exhibition. We told her she didn't have to check that part out in the museum, or if she wanted to, she could go to the other museums on the other side of the street. But the only reason this was taking her by surprise was because she didn't really check the schedule planned, like our friend asked us to. She sulked and ended up going to the other museums. We ended up rushing through ours and not even checking all we wanted because we didn't want to keep her waiting and feared she would take it poorly if we did. Nearing the end of our day, the same situation happened again. We were on our way to get dinner when she finally checked our arrangement to get lunch at the Black Dog on the day of the concert. She started arguing with us and acting like there was no way for her to know of this beforehand. We told her that the Black Dog was a perfectly normal pub. We weren't taking her to a Taylor Swift fan convention, so her reaction seemed uncalled for, especially because she was only being taken by surprise because she didn't bother to check out the schedule when asked to. I ended up losing my temper and being really harsh when speaking to her. She started crying and said she wanted to go back to her room. We accompanied her, and then later went to have dinner. When we came back, she seemed really mad, so I didn't say anything. I thought it would be best to let the situation calm down and let us all clear our heads before approaching the subject again, and only doing so when we weren't stuck in the same room for 5 days. So, we only touched this subject again on the day after we came back from London. I apologized for the way I had handled our argument and the way I spoke to her, but told her I still didn't think the way she behaved was right, and that I thought her behavior had been a bit self-centered and childish. I didn't think it was fair to ask our friend over and over again to build the schedule and then not bother to actually see what she put on there, even when asked to do so and give her feedback, and then act like a wronged party over it. We ended up going back and forth on this for a few days until she was willing to apologize too. Things went differently with our other mutual friend. She expressed that she felt that this was the last straw for her, that her dynamic before had been stressful and she couldn't really do it anymore. She told me she was considering quietly ghosting her. I said I thought it would be best to let her know where she stands, but it was up to her. She ended up taking my advice and having an official friendship breakup with her. She didn't take it well at all and viewed it as a betrayal and as her abandoning her. I've tried to be there for her as much as I can, despite how difficult it has been since I'm in the middle between two friends. And now she's also mad at me for not warning her of what our friend told me. I told her that the last time we had talked about it, our ex-mutual friend had expressed that she wasn't sure of what she was going to do or of her decision, and I didn't think it was fair on my part to go behind her back when the situation is between them and their relationship. And she told me she wasn't sure of her decision going forward, but point blank didn't want to vent about it with me since we had worked things out, and that wouldn't be fair for me. So giving a heads up that would boil down to, by the way, she isn't sure if she wants to work things out with you, would not only be going behind her back and on her business, but then if she decided she did want to work things out, it would just cause problems. That it wasn't done out of lack of consideration for her, but out of trying to respect the situation and trying to be fair with everybody. She's accusing me of betraying her. I don't know what to do anymore. For months now, I've been feeling like I was walking on eggshells, not knowing what minor issue might spiral into a full-blown argument that was still anxiety-inducing to experience. Like she once started a full-on argument with me because I said I thought Aaliyah was a better dancer than Beyoncé. Just silly stuff like that, but blow into huge deals, and I'm so tired. My mother is going to start radiotherapy next week, and she's aware of that, and I don't think I can take much more of this while also dealing with that. I don't know what to do. Now for a few comments before the update. Well, actually, this post did not have any comments. Now, for the update. A few days after the London trip from hell, I get this huge text from my aggressive friend, like demanding an explanation for me not giving her a heads up about the other friend's decision to distance herself. I'm like, seriously? The whole thing with the other mutual friend was between her, me, and the other friend. I tell her this, and I could just feel the tension rising. She starts going off on me with this huge wall of text, like claiming I'm gossiping behind her back and all this other stuff. I try to stay calm, but she just won't listen. So, the following weekend, we have this family dinner, and things are already high because my mom's health issues. I'm kind of dreading it, but I show up anyway. Out of nowhere, the aggressive friend shows up uninvited, acting like she's there to support me during this tough time. My younger sister, Kate, is like shocked to see her there and whispers to me, asking if everything is okay. I just shake my head a little. The aggressive friend starts making these passive-aggressive comments about how I'm so stressed, almost like she's mocking me. Then my older brother, Jake, tries to lighten the mood by joking about his baby's impending arrival, but she cuts in and makes it about her troubles. I'm like, seriously? I had enough of her ish, so I feel the need to step in and defend my family, stating that this dinner isn't the time for her complaints. She gets visibly upset and storms out, slamming the door behind her. My mom expresses concern about the aggressive friend being too much to handle, and she's like, you should distance yourself. I'm like, damn it, I know I should, but it's hard. The next day, I text the aggressive friend suggesting we meet up to talk things through. She agrees, but insists on meeting at this trendy cafe downtown, saying it's a better atmosphere. I just want to meet up and talk, but she has to make it extra. The day comes, and she shows up late, saying traffic was terrible. I know the cafe is within walking distance for her, though. When we finally sit down, she immediately starts venting about how everyone is against her. I try to steer the conversation toward resolving our issues, but she keeps deflecting. She accuses me of being part of the problem and not supporting her. I'm like, what even? At this point, she yells after me, demanding an apology for not understanding. Later that evening, I get this group text from our mutual friends, revealing they've all been discussing the aggressive friend's behavior. I'm like, great, here we go. The next day, I decide to plan a gathering with those supportive friends, without the aggressive friend. We choose this cozy spot for brunch, making sure it's a safe space to share thoughts and feelings without judgment. A few days later, the aggressive friend sees our brunch photos on social media and reacts publicly, calling me a traitor. I'm like, are you serious? She goes on this dramatic rant, painting herself as the victim and me as the villain. My family and friends rally behind me, publicly supporting me and sharing their own experiences with her behavior. It feels good to have their support, like I'm not alone in this. The aggressive friend's behavior ultimately leads to her being isolated, as others begin to step back from her negativity. This whole saga ends with her confronting me one last time at a mutual friend's birthday party. She demands to know why everyone has turned against her. I calmly tell her that she needs to take responsibility for her actions. She storms off, leaving me unfazed. Now, I'm just trying to keep my head above water with all this. I know I gotta do what's best for me, but it just feels like there's no end in sight. I mean, all this over a friendship? It's draining. I'm just hoping this is the last time I have to deal with her and that my life can chill out for a bit. To answer a few questions, this situation has been ongoing for about a year, with the aggressive friend's behavior worsening due to her personal struggles. My family is generally supportive, but they have been stressed due to my mom's health issues. I have known the aggressive friend for over 10 years, and this is the first time I have faced such a significant conflict with her. Am I the idiot for refusing to save my boyfriend from his own self-destruction? We have been in a relationship for the past 3 months. I am in such a difficult situation. I love my boyfriend deeply. We share many inside jokes, and he is generally very loving. Most of the time, we have a lot of fun together and enjoy spending time with each other. We also have a lot in common and often think alike. He even calls me by the nickname Wifu and frequently talks about wanting to marry me someday. It's a constant topic between us. However, his past is very troubling. His mother died when he was 12, and he lived with his father for 2 years. During that time, his father beat him senseless every day. At 14, he was placed back into a children's home, and since then, he has been on his own. In March, he suffered from a psychosis, which led to him being placed in a medically induced coma for 2 days because he was a danger to himself and others. 3 days after waking up from the coma, 2 of his friends convinced him to go to the bank and take out an $8,000 loan in his name to pay off a $2,000 debt he owed. Now, at 21, he is $10,000 in debt. Those so-called friends took the entire $8,000 for themselves, leaving him with nothing. We are currently dealing with this legally in court. He is unemployed and doesn't want to return to his old line of work, so we're trying to figure out what he can do for work after he completes a few weeks of therapy at a mental hospital, which starts next week. There is a lot of stress in our lives right now. We've only been dating for 3 months, which isn't a long time to be dealing with so much. Despite this, he keeps saying that we will stick through all the highs and lows together. He tells me that he owes me the world for everything I've done for him, and even talks about paying for a vacation for us once his financial situation is sorted out. Apparently, some distant family members are willing to help him out as well. Yet, he keeps trying to break up with me. Afterwards, he always tells me that he was just feeling overwhelmed and made a mistake by wanting to leave. The last time he tried, he told me, if I say I want to break up, don't take me seriously. So when he tried to break up again, I didn't take him seriously. However, he insisted that I should. Later, he said again that he doesn't want to break up and that it has nothing to do with me. He's just overwhelmed by everything. But this time, he added, but next time I want to break up, do take me seriously. I told him that I wouldn't because I know there will be a next time. I love him and don't want him to leave. I feel like he doesn't really mean it when he says he wants to break up. I believe he's just being self-destructive because of his trauma. That's why I find it so hard to let him go when he does this. I don't know what's right or what I should do. He doesn't have anyone, no friends, no parents, and I don't want to give up on him like everyone else has. How do I further deal with this? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Thank you for your comment. I agree with everything. When he was going through psychosis, he was only in the hospital for 3 days. 2 of them, he was in a coma. Then he got released. No psychiatrist, no therapy, nothing after. Just those friends controlling him and convincing him that he will be fine. Now, this is going to be the first time that he is in therapy again since he lost his mother at the age of 12. Comment 2. Your boyfriend is not mentally stable enough to be in a relationship. I would not be dealing with all of this after 3 months. It's just going to get worse. Now, for the update. Just over 2 days after my last update, I'm at home scrolling through my phone, trying to find some normalcy in this mess. My boyfriend texts me saying he has a surprise for me. Honestly, I can't remember the last time he sounded excited. He asks me to meet him at the arcade where we had our first date. I rush to get ready, feeling a little hopeful for the first time in forever. I arrive at the arcade and see him waiting by the entrance. He looks a bit more relaxed than usual, like a weight has been lifted off his shoulders. He hands me a small stuffed animal he won from a claw machine. It's not much, but the smile on his face makes it feel like things are a little better. We spend some time playing games, and for a moment, everything feels almost normal again. Then he gets a call from one of his so-called friends and steps outside to take it. I'm here trying to keep this moment alive, but I can't shake off the feeling that something's off. After a while, he comes back looking uneasy, saying he has to leave immediately. I'm about to ask him what's wrong, but he brushes it off, saying it's nothing. The next day, I get a frantic call from his sister, saying he's missing. My heart drops. She tells me he didn't come home the night before, and his phone is off. She remembers him mentioning someone named Mike, who he used to hang out with. I decide to reach out to Mike, hoping he knows where my boyfriend is. Mike responds and says he hasn't seen him, but mentions something about a party last night. I head to the location of the party, which is at a rundown warehouse on the outskirts of town. Upon arriving, I see cars parked everywhere and loud music blaring. It's like a scene from a movie, but this is my life, and I'm not laughing. I walk in and immediately spot my boyfriend at a table playing cards with a group of people. He looks disheveled and his eyes are a bit wild, unlike the relaxed demeanor from the arcade. When he sees me, he looks shocked and stands up quickly, knocking over a drink. I approach him, and he tries to explain that he was just having fun. I notice a stack of cash on the table and a few empty bottles around. He insists he was just trying to escape his problems, but I feel betrayed. We step outside, and the atmosphere is chaotic. I confront him about the missing money and his poor choices. A commotion breaks out behind us, drawing attention from the crowd. Suddenly, a fight erupts nearby, and people start shouting and pushing. In the chaos, I grab his arm, trying to pull him away from the scene. He pulls away, insisting he wants to stay and not be controlled. I watch in disbelief as he walks back toward the fight, leaving me behind. The next morning, I get another call from his sister, saying he's in a bad state and I need to come. When I arrive, I find him sitting on the floor of his sister's living room, looking lost. His sister tells me he's been acting erratically and needs serious help. We have a tense conversation where he admits he needs to figure things out alone. He mentions he doesn't want to drag me down with him anymore. Edit. His sister thinks he might be dealing with substance abuse and doesn't know how to help him. She asked for my input. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.